Warriors, come out to play.
Hey guys, I'm Nadia. For those of you that don't know me, with Way to Wellness, I'm a certified wellness coach. And for those of you who do follow my blog or follow me on Instagram or Facebook, know that I'm constantly posting about nutrition and fitness. So today I'm here with Dennis Febo. Do you want to talk about yourself, introduce yourself?
Hello, my name is Dennis Febo. I am the founder and CEO of Guasabara Insights, an educational services provider aimed at raising social consciousness and uplifting community. Basically, I'm a speaker and educator that deals with topics of learning more about your mind, your body, and your spirit.
That last word was key because I know that you guys must be tired of all the fitness posts, the nutrition posts, even though it's good for you, and I'm going to keep doing that. So don't think otherwise. But today I wanted to talk a little bit about the spiritual side and how that can also affect maybe why we don't embark on healthy living. Sometimes there could be something a little bit deeper rooted as to why you don't feel so good maybe about yourself, or you don't feel so good about your relationship with food, or maybe your relationship with people, or your relationship most importantly with yourself. I know we always talk amongst ourselves, and sometimes we have these really deep rooted conversations. So why not provide that to you guys? Because I feel like so many of us can use that. And I know we were talking about how sometimes we can get lost in the roles that we play. And that's what I wanted to talk about today, because I think maybe part of the reason that we might lose ourselves is because of the everyday hustle and bustle. If you're a parent, if you're in a relationship, you're playing the role as the girlfriend or the boyfriend, or you're playing the role as the mom or the dad or the daughter, sometimes, or the son. Sometimes your parents can, sometimes they need a lot from you, and so you're giving of yourself in that way. But today we just really want to talk about how important it is to just not lose yourself and allow those roles to define who you are.
Well, one of the main concepts I would say in regards to when you're identifying, so when we say we're creating roles or we're dividing ourselves into many different components to be able to serve and relate to the people around us, the first realization that a lot of us have to come up with, the first agreement that we must come up with, is that we are almost to say infinite beings. We can create or destroy ourselves in any moment and given in time. So now I can be something, tomorrow I could be something else. We could do it second to second, moment to moment in time. Having the realization that you are beyond anything that you define yourself as. You are infinite. And that is a strong, powerful realization. From there, gives you the power and the space to say, I can create myself however I want to be. One of the other important things is doing so without judging or having to justify that creation of yourself. So sometimes we say that because I am, a husband or I am a father, that I have to act in a certain way, or I have to behave in a certain way in order to be seen as by others as the proper husband or proper father.
And just to extend on that, I think that sometimes, because I know me personally, I do this all the time. And I've had to stop myself in the middle of doing it because, for example, as a mom, right, of my two kids, and I'm coming from, again, today, a sleep-deprived place. So, excuse me. But you're constantly putting this pressure on yourself where you're like, I have to be a good mom. I have to be a good mom. So you start obsessing over that. And I think you don't stop in your tracks and sometimes realize how much time that self-talk is taking out of your daily life. You don't realize how much time you're spending just telling yourself, I need to be a good mom. And everything is starting to center around that. And you start losing maybe some of the powerful characteristics you have that make you a great mom, or that make you, great in your career or great in your relationship, because you start obsessing over what. And again, you know what, too? I feel like it's not our fault, because whether it's the media or all these other outlets, they're constantly putting out there for what we need to be like. Whether it's as a mom, whether it's as a girlfriend, what we need to look like. What's the latest trend, what we need to be wearing. And I think as we constantly relate to something that's outside of ourselves, which is always changing, you lose your freaking mind. Right? Because that's always changing. Whereas if you tune in to who you are, which might make, I feel like if you spend more time tuning into who you are, you're probably going to be 10 times better at whatever role it is you're obsessing over, as opposed to relating to something on the exterior, which is always changing, you know?
So, I mean, the exterior world sort of tries to constantly define these roles for us, whereas the roles don't have to be defined. Again, if you start to try to define a role and you place all these different stipulations as to how you need to act in order to enact that role in a certain way, then you don't give yourself the space and the freedom to live in them now, to live in this moment in time. So, for example, as a mother or as a father, if I'm saying as a father, I am feeding my child. And the proper thing that I'm supposed to do is feed my child in a certain way, serve my child the plate in a certain way, make sure they eat in a specific way. Like, there's all these different things in order for me to feel like by the end of that meal that I fed my child properly. Whereas if I were to spend time being in the now as I'm preparing my child's food, then I'm more conscious of the amount of love I'm putting into the food. And we all know when you put love into your cooking, the food just tastes better for some reason. When you're serving the food, how your child is receiving the food is going to affect how they're going to want to eat it. How they're eating. You know, there's no set way of doing things. Paying attention to what's going on in the now is what's going to allow you to live free, be happy in that moment in time, and is what you're doing. And then by the end of the day, when you look back, you're going to say, wow, I spent most of today being happy. I spent most of today
Not
doing
worrying.
things, you know, and my child for some reason is happier. My child ate his whole meal. Maybe they didn't. Maybe they didn't eat. Maybe they'll eat later on, so, you know, something else later on. There's no specific or set way of doing things. As long as you're living in the now and being happy, there's no stopping you.
And I think obsessing over the roles that we play take away from us even playing those roles in a good way. You know, you need to take time out and tell yourself, you know what, today I need to just be me. I'm going to continue being a mom. I'm going to continue being VP of this department. I'm going to continue being an amazing son or daughter, husband, wife. But today I'm just going to maybe tap into my spirituality just a little bit. And when I say spirituality, I don't want it to be confused with religion, because I've had that come my way before, but I'm a religious person. Hey, if you're a religious person, then you know what? Tap into your religion today, because if that's where you find yourself, that's what really has to do with tapping into your spirit and uplifting your spirit and nurturing your spirit. I like to relate spirituality to who you are, your inner being. You know, if you enjoy skiing and that's where you feel, you know, you're flaming that inner light, and you feel alive, and that's what you like to do, that's tapping into your spirituality. If you like to paint, that's where the artistic side of you is coming out. Then paint. If you like to read, read. When I say spirituality, I mean like digging deep into who you are. And the only way you do that is surrounding yourself with the people that you love and doing the things that you love to do. Because that's when who you really are comes out. Not when you're obsessing over how you are as a parent or how you are in your career.
And you can find spirituality in anything that you do. So
Exactly.
even if, say, you were to get your nails done, the fact, oh, if I'm getting a pedicure and I'm sitting in the chair and the person's doing my feet, the fact that I'm leaning back, closing my eyes and relaxing and not paying attention to anything alone is a spiritual act, because it's allowing me to shut out the world and do what it is that I feel like I need to do. But the key is to be able to find that, not just sort of, yes, take time to yourself and dig deep and learn, you know, all the different parts of yourself and where it is that you want to do with your life. But the point of it is to take that on along with the rest of your day. So I could find enlightenment and spirituality through doing the dishes, to, again, like I said, cooking. When I take a shower, I'm loving myself. The way I clean my body, the way I prepare myself, the way I dress myself, all those things, paying attention to the now in all of my daily actions makes it so that everything that you do while might seem routine is now becoming a spiritual practice, because you're putting love and attention into who you are and who you're being.
Yeah, and in the midst of all that, I know that when you are allowing the roles that you play to just consume your mind with worry and doubt, that sometimes it can steer away from the time you do take for yourself. I hear this all the time with clients, you know, like, I don't have time to eat healthy. I don't have time to work out. I don't have time to, like, make for myself. Part of even tapping into your spirituality is making time for those things. You're never going to have time. Time doesn't just pop out of nowhere. I can tell you that personally, so can Dennis. But change the conversation in your minds a little bit. You know, you have that power, and instead of saying to yourself all the time, I don't have time, I don't have time, position it like, where in my day can I make the time, you know, to just really do something that I enjoy, or to really just maybe sit down and write down these thoughts and go over them, and take some time to like assess yourself, you know, what is it that you spend so much time worrying about and why? I know it sometimes in our minds we maybe have a doubt this small, and the more we start emphasizing on it in our minds, we create it to become like this problem that we can't even solve or deal with. The main reason we wanted to talk about this today is because we do hear about this a lot. I know that I've heard this a lot from clients, and sometimes when you're putting so much time, investing so much time into these roles and how to perfect them and how to be, you know, the perfect girlfriend, the perfect sibling, the perfect, you know, grandkid or parent, you start obsessing, and then you're starting to lose yourself and steer away from that. And I've come across many people who have really lost themselves to a point where when they do realize that they're lost, they take a look back and they think that it's going to take so much work to just find themselves again that they don't even want to start. And that can be very scary for many of us. And I completely understand. But don't let those fears stop you, because you'd be surprised how even just doing one small progressive change towards just being you again makes such an extraordinary difference.
And what's funny is that conversation is a defense mechanism, because it really stems from the concept of the fear of death. When you create a role or a persona, you'll do anything to hold on to it sometimes, because you defined yourself to that. You've attached yourself to it so strongly that it's hard to let it go. And what's funny is it's such an idea, or such of a big of a concept. In the end, if you were to tell yourself in the end that you really truly believe that that's what you are, that's a lie you're telling yourself again to protect it. It's a self-defense mechanism. Yeah. The truth about yourself is that you are infinite being. You go beyond anything that you can create yourself to be. You are that open and that grand of a being that you're free to be who you want. So the first step towards that change, or that push to get you to go towards you want to go, is that first agreement and realization. I am free to be who I want to be.
And I know that sometimes, because we're fearful of how much work it's going to take, you find it easier to just be that role. You know what? I'm just a mom, and I'm just going to focus on that, and I'm just going to keep doing that because I've let myself go, and the amount of work that I have to do to just get back to that is so much that I don't even have it in me, and it could be emotionally taxing and exhausting. But don't be scared. I know that that's really hard to do, but that's the first step, is look at that fear and don't be scared of the fear. You know, fear is a good thing. You learn a lot from it, but you learn a lot when you actually start facing it. And like I said, I know that it can be a scary place. Sometimes digging within is a scary place, but you'll learn so much more as opposed to just going with emotions. We have such a great purpose, each one of us. And part of that purpose, part of why we're here, isn't just to assume a role that involves being something for someone else. And you'll be a greater resource to the people around you, and most importantly to yourself, if you really don't lose yourself and tap into who you are, what you love, what you're about, what you stand for, and what you enjoy doing. So I know we're not going to take up much more of your time, and we hope you enjoyed this small clip on spirituality for the week. And I'm going to try to provide you guys with some more of these videos, and not just blow up your news feed on every social media outlet with just fitness and nutrition. You could always message myself or message Dennis. I'm going to include his website on my link, and this video will be on his page as well. So let us know. Feel free to reach out. We'd love to hear from you. And stay well.
Peace.